So one thing, and I love, getting on coaching calls with many of you individually, and we talk about team and being in the marketing space now. So our marketing company is growing like crazy. Like we're acquiring a lot of new clients. And I think the interesting thing is that, most of you use marketing companies and some of you are using us, which is fantastic. And I love that. Two things on that is that, coming as a chiropractor, and especially as a chiropractor who really is deep into the principle of chiropractic, bringing that position to marketing brings a different element. But the really cool thing, I believe, is that we had an incredibly great team in our office. And I give them so much credit, but I often have to look at my wife and obviously what we did together to help to nurture and build that team over the years, I think was brilliant. And here now it is just over 2 years after selling our practice. Four of the same team members are still there with Dr. Vince in the practice. So it really shows their dedication to chiropractic. It shows their dedication to the patients and their love for each other that, many employees in a transfer like that would have left if they weren't completely ingrained in the principle and ingrained in what they were doing. So I give them tremendous credit, but I know my wife was the spearhead of this. She was leading the charge because Kim had incredible emotional intelligence when it came to employees. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So here we go. So here's the 8 key steps to building a team who are on fire, full of desire, incredibly inspired, and will never retire. So that's my saying for today. So here we go. So first of all, when I say everything starts with vision, you guys, we have to have a vision. And if you don't have a vision for your office, if you can't clearly articulate, if I was to ask you, what is the vision for your office? You should be able to clearly articulate that vision in 1 or 2 sentences. In fact, it should be so clear and so powerful. If you haven't refined it, refine it and get it up on the wall. Put it on the wall in your office. So every single person, team member, patient, everybody that comes into your office sees that vision and knows what you stand for or what you stand against and knows where you're going just from that vision statement. So set clear expectations and goals. So host and team meeting. And if you just start from scratch, if you're not having team meetings now, this would be a great time to start, is host a team meeting to talk about these goals, discuss the vision and the mission. And remember, vision is what you see, the change that you want to see in the world. So to get there, we have to have an individual mission. So the mission is your active engagement in doing the day-to-day tasks to get to that vision. So the vision is the big picture. The mission is what you do on a day-to-day basis. So, and each team member's roles and responsibilities in that mission and vision. So this is a great topic for a staff meeting to share the vision and make sure that you role play this and your team can articulately talk about that vision. And that's a huge aspect of your practice, being able to make sure that you are all on the same page internally. So it creates a huge team dynamic, but also from a stewardship perspective, is you want your team to be the best marketing people for your office. So they should be able to articulately talk about your office, what it stands for, what it delivers, where it's going, what makes you different, what makes you special. That's something that you should train on regularly. It'll be worth your while to spend the time to do that. So clarity from the start ensures that everyone knows what's expected of them and how their work contributes to the team's success. This alignment keeps everyone motivated and focused. And that's a great question to ask your team members in a team meeting. What do you bring? What specific qualities can you bring to this vision and mission in this office? And let them talk, let them share. You might learn things by asking that question of them that you didn't know before. And maybe it opens up a door for them to do a certain thing or certain task or give them a project or responsibility that you might not have even thought of without having that conversation. And ongoing practice. So regular team meetings, regular check-ins, obviously huddles. And if you guys aren't huddling at least 15 minutes before every shift, make sure you put that in. Team trainings to revisit these goals and make the necessary adjustments. So this is a living document. This should be talked about on a regular basis. Number 2, Foster open communication and feedback. So what does that mean? Well, implement regular one-on-one meetings. So if obviously we want to have our group meetings with our team, but also meeting individually with team members is going to open the door for communication that won't happen in a group setting. So having that individual communication, and you could do it on a quarterly basis, you could do it on a monthly basis, you could do it, on some sort of irregular basis if you choose to. But I would just suggest, and here's something that I used to do is I used to randomly take staff members out for coffee or out for lunch. And I would do it one at a time, and they all knew it was happening. So it wasn't a big surprise. Oh, why is he going out for lunch with Diane? Why is he? So it was regularly scheduled, and we would just talk about what's going on in their personal life. I would show an active ability to try to be concerned about, and I genuinely was concerned about what was going on in there. And some of them were having, personal issues or problems or marital problems or whatever that was. But just to be an ear to lean on and know that they had our support. And maybe they needed to take time off. And here's one instance. We had one of our staff members split up with her common law husband at the time, and she was in financial concerns. So she told us that, and she said she was thinking about making some life changes. So I came openly out, and this was in a one-on-one conversation over a coffee. And I said, well, listen, if you need us to help you with some finances, let me know. I'd be happy to give you an interest-free loan, and we would document it. We'll write it down. And sure enough, we gave her an interest-free loan of $10,000, which she paid back over the next 5 years. So, and she was more than grateful. In fact, when she actually got back together with her common law husband, and I remember the common law husband coming to me in privacy saying, I'm really grateful for what you did for my wife. I'm not going to mention her name, but I'm really grateful for what you did for her during the time that I was gone. And it really went a long way. So little things like that, you can start to take a genuine interest in your team's life. They're family. So when you start to treat them like family, and guess what? When you treat them like family, they become very close to you, your vision, your mission. It's much tougher for them to leave. So for those of you who've had staff turmoil or chaos, as we talk about in the office, that's part of the concern, is that they all have their personal lives and they bring them into the office, and that creates chaos and turmoil in the office as well. So if you can deal with what's going on personally, let them know that they're supported. Often that helps get you past that. So implement one-on-one regular meetings. Open communication builds trust. I can't tell you how valuable, and I learned this from experience. And a lot of this, guys, I'm telling you, this is stuff that I learned from making mistakes, and we made a lot of mistakes. But the nice thing is that at least I became vulnerable and open-minded to knowing where I made mistakes. But even more importantly, I had my wife to point out all of my mistakes. So that, I'm grateful for her for that. She was very emotionally intelligent when it came to a lot of this stuff. So open communication builds trust. I can't tell you how important it is to gain the trust of your team. So if you are the type of person that's running your business as a micromanager, overseeing everything, correcting everything, never praising, you're going to have a lot of turnover. Team will not stay in that environment, and you will lose their trust. And when you lose their trust, man, it's tough to build a practice. It will affect your bottom line. It will affect that influence you have on your community. So, and then of course the next thing is, and this is something we started using for our marketing company, is a communication platform like Slack. So now we use we use the Slack app that all of our clients can talk to our team members directly through Slack, upload files, share ideas, any concerns, and we have a great response time on that. So that's been huge. And I often would say that, if I had access to that in the office for our team, to have open communication on an app like Slack was absolutely huge. I know Dr. Brian's actually using Slack in his office with his team. So if somebody has an idea, or if somebody has a concern or a challenge, or maybe has something come up family-wise and needs to change shifts, you can openly communicate with your teams through a Slack channel, and and have that immediate communication and immediate feedback. So that is it's been huge for our company, for our marketing company, to communicate with clients and have great response times and address concerns. But I would say in an office, something like that is really more than valuable. Number three, provide continuous learning and development opportunities. I can't tell you how important it is to invest into your team. Often we look at, taking the team to seminars or anything, sending them to courses or purchasing a course for them as an expense. As much as it costs money out of your pocket to do that, like obviously taking our team to a seminar, it was 10 grand. But if I could get over the idea of spending 10 grand as an expense and knowing that that was an investment into the, the joy of being together, the team bonding that we had at that seminar, and the consistent learning that we had, it was absolutely massive. So I would encourage you that if you haven't taken your team to a seminar, schedule one. I mean, we got one obviously coming up November 1st at Dr. Brian's office, our DC2 seminar in Toronto, and then Pure and Powerful, which is the next day. If you haven't scheduled those yet, schedule them off, spend the money, fly them out, like just bring them for the day. It's so great and bonding for a team to be together and learn new ideas. And then you have a meeting the next week, and it's amazing what comes out of that meeting. You start changing things in your office, and guess what? It goes to the next level. It is always an investment into your practice to do that. So high-performing teams always stay ahead of the curve by continuously upgrading their skills. Supporting their growth not only boosts individual confidence, but strengthens the entire team. Building their confidence is absolutely huge. Ongoing practice, encourage your teams to pursue certification. So if the team came to me, and this often happened, like for instance, we had a team member who's really interested in nutrition, and she wanted to go and become a holistic nutritionist. So I was all for it. And we supported her schedule so that she could go and take those courses or take time off her exams or whatnot. I was fully supportive of that. And guess what? So now she's got her holistic nutrition certification, and she's actually working in the same office doing nutritional consultations. So that's been an investment into the practice. It's an additional stream of income. She's making significantly more money herself, and it's created another avenue of business in the practice. Promote team building and collaboration. So this is something that we did as a team, is once a month, we would have one of our staff meetings as a team building meeting, and we would bring different team building drills. And some of them were just fun. Like it was just not meant to do anything other than have a few laughs and some fun. We would often play headbands, that game headbands, where we'd put some card or some figure and we had to try to describe the figure so the person would guess it, or Pictionary, games like that. And by the end of the meeting, we'd be busting out laughing in tears, because and what a great bonding experience. It made the rest of the week just go fantastically well because everybody was just in such a joyous mood after that meeting. So team building, things like that, or taking them to different workshops or escape rooms. We took our team in a limo to Blue Man Group after meeting some goals. But just anything like that where you can pour into your team. I know Dr. Danny took his team to a dinner movie theater where they actually went and watched Captain Marvel, his cousin, when she had her premiere out on screen. So anything like that, don't look at it as an expense. It's a bonding experience. So pour into your team, spend some money on them. They will cherish it. I mean, they'll feel so valuable and so trusted and worthy as, when you do that, it's definitely worthwhile. Collaborative activities help to build interpersonal relationships, improve problem-solving skills, foster a sense of camaraderie and trust, and ongoing practice on a regular basis. So incorporate projects and you pair team members together or make subtle groups in your team if you have a bigger team that initiate and require collaboration outside of their usual tasks. And here's one thing. So when we started doing dinners and we found how valuable dinners were for our practice, for a sense of retention, for a sense of getting out in the community, new patient acquisition, they were the best thing that we ever started doing. We started small, and then they grew into something. And as they grew, we took on the term, and I coined the term of saying, we want to have an Italian wedding community dinner. And it turns out that we actually had an Italian girl working with us, and she'd been there she's there now for 18 years. And her last name is Olivieri. So very Italian family. She spoke Italian, which was actually great for all the Italian people. She'd immediately speak Italian. She talked with her hands. She was amazing at that. And she brought such an energy to the office. But when I said we want to have an Italian wedding dinner, you should see her eyes light up, because if you've ever been to an Italian wedding, you know an Italian Catholic, Roman Catholic wedding, you walk like it 300 people at an Italian wedding is a small wedding. They make it big. They go big, they go very extravagant. There's no lack of spending. So I said we want an Italian wedding dinner. And so she herded the team together and she said, let's do this and let's do this. And she came up with all these ideas and it turned out fantastic. And so we had dinners anywhere, our community dinners were like, if we had 200 people at a dinner, it was a slow dinner. And we had tables of 12 and we rented out the hotel and the place would be packed, and we had buffet lines, like 4 buffet lines, so people could go up and get their food, and we try to get them through as fast as possible. So we had 350 people was our biggest dinner, and we have pictures of it, and it was just, and we would share the pictures on our social media pages. We would share it in our office on a reel on a TV, and it just created such a great energy. So give them projects that they can work on and run with. Don't micromanage it. Let them run with it. Share the vision, let them run with it, and watch what happens. So collaborate those activities to build those interpersonal relationships and problem-solving skills, and incorporate the projects. Recognize achievements and celebrate the win. So big thing. Implement recognition programs. It's really important. Listen, your staff is not with you because you're paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, they could probably go, they're talented people. People that work in chiropractic offices for any amount of time develop a lot of skills. They develop incredible personal relationship skills with customers, customer relationship skills. They develop incredible administrative skills. They learn about business principles. So with those skills, they could probably go get a job that pays them double of what you're paying. So most of your team don't stay with you. For anybody who's had team for over a year, 2 years, 5 years, or longer, they're not staying with you because you're paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars. They stay with you because of the principle. They stay with you because they believe in what your office delivers to the community. They see the change that you are making, and they feel part of that. So the best thing that you can do is recognize their achievements, give them positive recognition, accolades in front of their peers, give them little rewards, just spontaneous rewards, from time to time. So Kim was great at this. She would recognize every single staff member's birthday. She never missed one. She would remember anniversaries, special events, children's birthdays. So she would bring in little gifts. It might just be a card. It might be a gift card to Subway or something. It might be an Amazon gift card or a Home Depot gift card if they had a project going on. She was very intuitive as far as what was needed for that time for that person, but it was a public recognition at our staff meeting. Happy birthday, here's a gift card. Might have been a lottery ticket. In fact, we would often do that randomly. We'd give lottery tickets to our team, but we had a deal that, couple things, if they happened to win the jackpot, they would take the entire team on a Caribbean vacation. Okay, that was number one. And number two, they would take $1 million of that jackpot and put it towards the fund for developing or forming a chiropractic school. That was the deal. So we would give them random lottery tickets. So just little things like that can build such trust and just such positive energy in your office. So public awards, bonuses, public acknowledgement during team meetings. Positive reinforcement boosts morale big time. So if you're finding your team is down, if the morale is down, if you're hearing a lot of complaining, that's part of the problem, is that there's not enough positive reinforcement. So when there's more positive reinforcement, when there's more joy, when there's more team building, that precludes a lot of the negativity. It pushes it out of the way. There's always going to be the negatives thing. There's always going to be the stress and challenges. But if you add more positivity, it takes the space of the negativity. So start adding more positivity. Recognizing effort builds a strong, appreciative team culture. And then on an ongoing basis, just celebrate those small wins. Like it might be a win of the week. Celebrate patient testimonials. In fact, every time we had a testimonial, and I've mentioned many times, we had the camera set up 24/7. We would often play those testimonials at staff meetings. And and give shout outs to team for certain milestones or certain, like if we reached a certain number for the month or whatever that was, whether it was collections and the team was on an incentive program, whether it was collections or whether it was patient numbers, we would often recognize everybody in the team meeting as a result of that. Encourage accountability and ownership. So, and I've said this before. So for some of you that maybe have associates, if you're a practice owner and you have associates, one thing that I learned over the years was to make sure I treated those associates like they were a temporary associate. And again, this is more of a mindset shift, not a reality shift. I wanted them to stay forever, but I treated them like I was their mentor in helping them to develop the skills and the confidence, communication ability, adjusting ability, management of patients, their ability to do that so that they could therefore go and build their own practice. That was the goal. And I would say the same thing for team. We would try to treat the team like we were training them for something greater. I love for them to stay for as long as they wanted, but I wanted to help provide to them the skills necessary so they could go get a job as a corporate administration person in a big company and make six figures a year. I mean, that was the goal in my mind. So I didn't want to feel like I was possessive of any team member. I didn't want to feel like I was micromanaging. I wanted to do everything I could to build their confidence and build their skills. So create a system. And in doing that, here's the thing, what was really helpful was that they then took ownership of the practice. They treated that practice like it was their own. If there was, in fact, our main CA, she was on the list of the burglar alarm call center people. So on a weekend, for some reason, if the burglar alarm went off, maybe we had a critter get into the practice, and it was a mouse or a squirrel or something, set the alarm off, one of the motion sensors. Well, sure enough, it goes off. I'm away. I didn't get the call. Well, the next call in line was her. Well, what does she do? Because she's got such ownership on the practice, she gets up on a Sunday afternoon or whatever it was, Sunday morning, and goes into the practice to check things out, contacts the alarm company, says it's no problem. It was just obviously a false alarm. But that's the ownership that I was so proud of for them for taking. So they took full ownership. At your staff meetings, hold your team accountable. So for those of you who are not having staff meetings, regular staff meetings are huge. But not only that, take it a step further, take notes at every staff meeting, have regular minutes, discuss what you talk about, write it all down, have bullet points. And so we had one person in charge of doing that. She would post the notes after every staff meeting. Everybody would have to initial that they had read it, and those notes would come to the next staff meeting. If we had any undone issues, we would talk about them and clear them up before we went on to new stuff. And we would meet an hour a week, every week, once a week, and we would bring those notes to every week. So we brought those staff meeting minutes. So when those team members are accountable for their work, they're more engaged, they're more responsible, they're more driven to succeed. It promotes that culture. And people take pride in their contributions and understand their role in the bigger picture. You build this community in your office. Regularly review the individual and team progress. So we always, every single meeting brought stats to our every meeting. And we had one person in charge of the stats, and we had a certain list of stats that we would keep track of. And she would be so up to date with those stats. And I've said this so many times, is that she would know exactly where every single new patient was in the process of day 1, day 2, day 3, re-exam, re-sign. She would know who's up for re-signs in the next month. She would know who's up for re-exam coming up. She knew exactly where everybody was because she was on it every single day, and she brought that to every staff meeting. But it was good because it kept us all engaged. It was good communication. We would know exactly if there was a lost sheep in the practice, we would know who it was. Okay, so start keeping stats if you're not keeping stats, and make sure everybody is aware of what's going on. Okay. Number 7. Develop emotional intelligence and empathy. So this is such a big one. And I often, like I said, I give credit to my wife because she was the one in the practice, and where I lacked in emotional intelligence, she had an abundance of emotional intelligence. She was so good, and still is, at knowing what people are thinking before they say it. She just seems to have this sixth sense about her. So you could run workshops or training sessions focused on emotional intelligence. This often comes down to role playing, empathy, and interpersonal communication. So role playing exercises, and we used to do this in trainings. And here's a great training for your team. We would pretend that we were a cancer clinic. And we used to do this often. So role playing. So imagine the person sitting at the front desk of an oncology office. And I would put my team through this, and it would often bring people to tears. But it was good in the fact that it created such empathy for what we were doing. And we would role play that patient coming in to an oncology office. How would they be greeted? How would they be talked to? How would I go do a day two if I was the oncologist? And it was so powerful. And I know the staff, it was a very difficult situation to go through, but here's what happened as a result of that. We often said, and we all agreed, and the staff were right on board with this, is that we had a secret, principle that people needed to hear, this chiropractic principle, that if they knew this, could change the course of their life. And that was collectively agreed upon in our office. Everybody was so attached to the chiropractic principle in our office. And I loved it so much that we knew that if we could get to people who had had a life-threatening diagnosis, like cancer, and teach them the principle and get them under care and help them with their nutrition, get them adjusted, correct their spine, we knew that they had the best chance of survival and recovery and remission as a result of that. And the team bonded like that. So guess what happened? We attracted so many patients in different stages of cancer as a result of that, who specifically came into our office for care because they wanted something different than what they had had in the medical system. They wanted to get off the medication, the chemo, the radiation, the surgery, and it was just sharing those ideas and sharing that training that created that. And so ultimately what we did is we actually went to some of our patients who had had such great responses from being in our office as practice members, being under chiropractic care, getting involved in nutrition programs, coming to our workout classes, which we had 3 times a week. We had a patient running those, by the way. So that's something, if you don't do that, that's a great way. If you have the space to do that, a patient, would love to do that. We actually used to pay her $10 a class. So she'd get paid $10 a class. She'd lead the class. We'd have a bunch of patients coming to it. And it was just an awesome, again, team building type of thing, just energy, creating culture and energy. But what happened was we had all these patients who literally were in complete remission from cancer, or who had beaten their diagnosis and gave chiropractic and the principle of chiropractic and their lifestyle changes 100% credit because of what they had learned in our office. And we have videos of those people doing testimonials, which was so powerful. So we edited them. I used to play them at dinner. I played them when I was speaking at a Max Living conference. They bring people to tears. It was incredible. So when you start to share these ideas with your team and start to train with this intention, it is truly amazing the lives you can change and what happens as a result of that. So emotional intelligence is critical for effective teamwork. When team members are emotionally aware, they're better at managing relationships. Remember, your team is the most important relationship manager in your office, resolving conflicts, fostering support, and creating a respectful work environment. And here's another big thing. So, and I was talking about with the marketing company now, I have this wonderful privilege of being able to work with teams to help them to manage, now that we're creating all kinds of leads for their office, help them to manage those leads and strategies to manage those leads. So I get to talk to teams multiple times a week. And I can tell just by talking to the team members what offices are completely engaged. And it is so obvious. The team members that are so productive in what they do, they're on the ball, they're sharp, they're conscious about the whole process, They are willing to reach out. They know those people that are coming in from those leads have health concerns, have a problem. They know that their office has the answer for them. They're the beacon of light for those people. And I can tell the success of the office based on the team members when I do these calls. And I've done multiple calls with them now. And I tell you what, there's many of them that I would hire in a minute. And there's many of them that I would say, well, we need to go back to our day one training again. So I'll tell you what, guys, that you can't spend enough time training and supporting your team, because they, like I said, they're the steward of your office, and they will make or break your bottom line. They can make the difference of literally thousands and thousands of dollars of collections every single month. Hundreds of people on a weekly basis will be ready to come back into your office on a regular basis because of pouring into those team members at the front desk, including all your team members, obviously. So encourage active listening and empathy in daily interactions. Promote open door policy for discussing any issues related to workplace dynamics or personal concerns. Just be there for them. And the last thing is number 8, foster a culture of innovation and problem solving. Well, what does that mean? Well, just encourage creativity. Your team brings value to your office. You know, it doesn't matter where they were in their education. They're human beings who want to work with people. They may have never worked in a chiropractic office, but they're interested in working with people. So just encourage their creativity, because they may have that seed of creativity in them that they can bring to your office that all of a sudden opens the door for something incredibly great. So encourage the brainstorming sessions where everyone can contribute ideas without fear of judgment. And we encourage that from our team all the time. I wanted to hear their ideas. I wanted to hear the concerns, where the bottlenecks were, where the roadblocks were. Also hold regular innovation challenges where employees propose new solutions to current problems or ideas for improvement. And why? Well, we want to create a culture. We want to create an energy in our office that values innovation, helps the team to stay adaptable, and encourages continuous improvement. It also engages employees by making them feel that their ideas are valued, which leads to higher motivation, engagement, retention. Hey, here's another thing. Set the bar for your team as far as the standard of what you expect. And here's one little small detail. I wanted our office to look professional. We often use the 5-star hotel as an example. I wanted people to feel like they were coming into a 5-star hotel when they came to our office. Great customer service. I wanted the appearance to be good. So we were very focused on cleanliness, organization. I didn't want it to seem chaotic or disorganized at all. So we were very adamant about that. And the way the staff looked was very important. And as superficial as that sounds, we were like, before we did office uniforms, we had staff members coming in tank tops or sandals or open toe shoes. Finally, we laid the hammer down and said, no, that does not serve anybody well. We want to maintain a level of professionalism. So we set a dress code. There's no jeans, there's no open-toed shoes. You had to come dressed as if you were coming to a business, a business casual office. Then we implemented our team uniforms, so we looked like a team. And I tell you what, that was huge. So start analyzing what your team appears like to a new patient coming into your office. And if you're asking that new patient or recommending that new patient sign on to a care plan that is multiple thousands of dollars, at least appear like you deserve to charge that amount of money. So maintain some standards in your appearance of your office and in your team to raise the bar a little bit. And I would say the general rule of thumb that we had was, let's dress 10 to 20% better than all of the patients coming in. So if we could at least maintain that standard, and the team bought right into it, and they said, okay, so we had a really good looking team, and they were looking professional all the time. And when we had a new person come in, that was one of the first things, and I didn't have to say a thing because the team took them under their wing and said, this is the way we do things here. So that again contributed to the culture. So the culture that values innovation helps the team to stay adaptable, encourages continuous improvement, also engages employees by making them feel like their ideas are valued, higher motivation, engagement, retention. Make innovation, new ideas part of your team's daily or weekly routine. You can set aside time for during meetings for innovation moments or incentivize ideas that lead to tangible improvements in the practice. When your team takes ownership in what you do, when the team buys into the principle, when you're congruent with everything that you deliver to your patients, you're also delivering to your team. So, and I say this many, many times, if your team is not receiving the same level of care that you're delivering to your patients, whoa, like who's more important? Do you truly believe in what you're doing? If you truly believe that chiropractic saves lives, wouldn't you want your family and your team as your number one patients? And I mean, I was so adamant that my kids, our immediate family and our team were adjusted very, very regularly, and we took care of them like we would take care of our best patient. So make sure that you raise your standards on taking care of your team. They're the most important people in your office. Okay, so I hope that's helpful for you guys. One thing I would say is that, just if these procedures are not in place, so just where to start: team huddles, team meeting, team training. Spend the time. If you want to maintain a great business, you are a business owner. So it's time to start acting like a business owner. If you're not doing these things and taking the lead, a ship can't sail without a captain. You have to step into the role of being the captain. So be the team leader and set the stage, cast the vision, and put these things in place to make sure that the team knows exactly where the ship is going. And when the team knows where the ship is going, everybody goes together, and watch what happens to your practice.